6 people walked into 6 different precincts, in 6 different California cities, and confessed to the same murder. Same victim. Same weapon. Same night. But only one of them actually did it. And when the truth finally came out, it didn't just destroy the case, it shattered an entire task force. What would drive someone to confess to a crime they didn't commit? Why would 6 people admit to the same cold-blooded killing? And worst of all, what if the actual killer was never really caught? Welcome back, true crime lovers. Whether you're part of the regular crew or just stepping into this dark corner of stories for the first time, you're in for one of the strangest cases we've ever covered. 1 victim. 6 confessions. And a final twist that turned a celebrated task force into a scandal. If you love unsolved mysteries, twisted motives, and stories that make your jaw drop halfway through, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and stay with me to the end. Because the killer, not who you think. Monterey, California. Known for coastal charm and sleepy boardwalks. But on the night of March 3, 2022, that stillness shattered. Inside apartment 3C of the Pacific View complex, 34-year-old Lena Rivera, a local journalist, was found dead. What happened there would ignite one of California's most baffling investigations. At 10:06 p.m., a neighbor called 911 after hearing a woman scream, once, then silence. Police arrived 6 minutes later. The door was locked from the inside. No forced entry. No signs of struggle, at first glance. Inside, Lena, lying in a pool of blood. Stabbed 5 times. 3 wounds were precise. 2, wild, almost accidental. The medical examiner said the pattern suggested both intent and hesitation. Her purse. Still on the counter. Laptop open. Tea kettle warm on the stove. This wasn't a burglary. This was personal. Lena was sharp, driven. A freelance journalist unafraid to ask uncomfortable questions. She'd written exposés on local corruption, police union funding, shady land deals. But nothing recent screamed, "Someone wants you dead." Police canvassed the building. A neighbor, Mrs. Tully, 68, said she heard arguing around 9:40 p.m. A man and a woman. Lena sounded calm. The man? Not so much. She was trying to calm him down, Mrs. Tully said. Then, quiet. Not even a door closing. Forensics swept the scene. No usable prints on the knife. No tampering on the front lock. Fire escape. Untouched. Exterior security camera. Broken for weeks. By day 3, no leads. The Monterey Herald ran this headline. Local reporter murdered in locked apartment. Was she silenced? And just when police were preparing to retrace Lena's steps, someone walked in. March 8, 2022. 5 days after the murder. A man enters the Salinas Police Department, about an hour southeast of Monterey. No lawyer. No appointment. He sits down and says, "I killed Lena Rivera. I need to confess." His name was Eric Salinas, 36. A construction foreman. Quiet. Controlled. He and Lena had dated for 2 years. Passionate, even picture perfect, until a bitter breakup 7 months before. Eric said he saw her at a coffee shop a few days before her death. She smiled. Seemed happy. Too happy, he said. I thought, how can she be fine? After everything? He said he waited outside her building the night of March 3rd. She buzzed him in. They argued. Something in him snapped. Eric described the apartment's layout, down to the color of the throw blanket. Knew about a broken cabinet hinge. The tea kettle. The spare key in his wallet. Everything checked out. Detective Naomi Fields of the Monterey homicide team interviewed him. specific, emotional, believable. Eric was arrested, charged with second-degree murder. Case closed, until 1 week later. March 15, Santa Barbara Police Department. A woman walks in, trembling. Repeats one thing. You already have the wrong person. It was me. I killed her. Her name was Marianne Cho, 28. No criminal record. History of psychiatric hospitalization. No link to Lena. No reason to be a suspect. Except, her confession. She claimed she had stopped taking medication. Took a bus up the coast. Wandered into an apartment I recognized from a dream. There was a red door. I knocked. She opened. She let me in. Then, 5 stabs. Not out of hate, but because the voices said she was the reason for the static in my head. She described Lena's blue blouse, a detail never released publicly. She didn't know Lena's name. Fingerprint and DNA. No match. Timeline. Fuzzy. Claimed she floated up the stairs. Said she disappeared afterward. A delusion? Maybe. But how did she know about the blouse? Even worse, she had never heard of Eric Salinas. Didn't recognize his photo. Now there were 2 confessions. Both with non-public details. Neither with evidence. And only one of them could be guilty. March 18, Fresno Police. A man walks in and says, I need to talk about a murder I think I committed. Javier Ortega, 30. Lena's former college roommate. Once inseparable, until after graduation. I was her shadow, he said. Then she treated me like I never existed. He claimed they reconnected the night of March 3rd, talked. He asked for a second chance. She laughed. Then he snapped. Javier described the knife's location. The lavender soap. Her shoes by the door. But one detail stood out, he said her apartment smelled like oranges. In truth, it smelled like jasmine. Everyone who knew Lena knew that. She used the same brand for years. Was it a lie? A fantasy? Either way, now Fields had a nightmare. 3 confessions. 3 plausible motives. 3 people who described real details, and only one body. Lena Rivera's. By the end of March, what began as a solid arrest unraveled into confusion. 3 people had confessed. All described different scenarios. All knew private details. None had airtight alibis. Detective Naomi Fields was walking on glass. The media mocked the case. Podcasts speculated about cults. Conspiracy theories spiraled online. But for Fields, this wasn't entertainment. It was her worst-case scenario. And it was about to get worse. Because on April 2nd, nearly a month after Lena Rivera was murdered, a 4th confession came in. Then a 5th. Then a 6th. This wasn't strange anymore. It was something else entirely. Confession 4, Dev Patel. Oakland. Dev, 25, a rideshare driver, walked into the Alameda County Sheriff's Office and said, I was paid to kill her. I didn't know her name until I saw her face. He claimed someone contacted him via burner phone. Sent a motel key. A prepaid card. An address. He said he used the fire escape. Wore gloves. Waited until she was alone. Stabbed her. Ran. No emotion. Just facts. He only realized who she was after seeing her photo online. But, it didn't add up. There was no evidence of fire escape entry. No prints. No scuff marks. The access point was rusted shut. And Lena's wounds? Up close. Controlled. Not rushed. Still, Dev described the chipped coffee table. The jade plant by the window. Details not in any report. Was he guessing? Or was he coached? Confession 5, Sandra Vega. Los Angeles. 3 days later, Sandra walked into the LAPD and said, "She was my sister. She wanted nothing to do with me." She claimed they shared a father, connected via ancestry DNA. Reached out to Lena, but Lena ignored her. Sandra said she showed up uninvited on March 3rd. Lena refused to open the door. They argued. Finally, Lena cracked it open. That's when Sandra forced her way in and stabbed her. She claimed she cleaned the scene and left like it never happened. Cold. Precise. But records found no DNA link. No proof they ever spoke. Her phone placed her in Pasadena, nearly 300 miles away. Still, she knew about Lena's silver rings. The red ink in her notebook. The blouse. Details never made public. And another confession in the pile. Confession 6, Tommy Reed. Modesto. Tommy, 19, walked into the sheriff's office with his mother. "I think I killed someone. I think it was that lady in Monterey." He'd taken mushrooms with friends. Blacked out. Remembered knocking on a door. A woman letting him in. Blood. Nothing else. He claimed he hitchhiked to Monterey. Couldn't say how he got back. But he described Lena's face. Her living room. Said she had sad eyes, a soft voice. Knew the room's layout better than Javier did. There was no sign of forced entry. No trace of Tommy's presence. Yet, just like the others, he knew too much. Now Fields was facing the unthinkable. 6 confessions. 6 people. 6 puzzle pieces. Some unstable. Some plausible. None fully provable. Worse, none fully disprovable either. Each confession contained just enough truth to stir reasonable doubt. And every time Fields tried to make sense of one, another would surface. The media swarmed. The DA's office panicked. Pressure was mounting. And so they made a move. They formed the Monterey Multi-Jurisdictional Task Force. Fields was appointed lead. Naomi Fields wasn't a spotlight detective. But her record spoke volumes: 2 cold case solves, a triple homicide conviction, and 18 years of work that earned trust in communities where law enforcement had little. She didn't ask for this mess. But she took ownership of it. She brought in 2 forensic analysts from San Jose. A behavioral specialist from Sacramento. And a forensic linguist who had worked with the FBI on false confessions. Every inch of Lena's life, and death, was re-examined. Every bloodstain. Every statement. Every timeline. And then the cracks started to show. Eric said he arrived at 9:20 p.m. Mrs. Tully heard voices at 9:40. Marianne claimed the stabbing happened near the stove, but blood patterns started by the sofa. Javier said he arrived before sunset, but Lena's smart lock opened at 6:47 p.m., and logs showed a heavier person on the stairs. Dev said he used the fire escape, untrue. Sandra claimed DNA, proven false. Tommy? His memory was a hallucination. But eerily detailed. Fields was staring at 6 broken mirrors, each reflecting part of the truth. But none of them the full picture. And then, the case itself began to fracture. Not from the outside. But from within. April 6th. Fields started noticing subtle inconsistencies. Time stamps that didn't match. Evidence logged under different labels. Interview transcripts that seemed too clean. Something was wrong. She looked at the surveillance request from the nearby parking garage, deleted the day after Lena's murder. That footage had been erased. But someone inside law enforcement had requested it, using a file number that no longer existed. Then the blouse. Lena's bloody blouse had been removed from evidence storage, then returned. The seal broken. No log. No technician name. No lab record. But it had clearly been tampered with. Then she reviewed confession transcripts. Lines had been scrubbed out. Eric's version originally included Lena crying before she died, gone in the official file. Sandra's included her wiping fingerprints, also missing. Someone wasn't just interfering. Someone was rewriting the investigation. And then came the tip. It arrived as a single email to the department's general inbox. Subject line, "You're asking the wrong people. Look inside." The body? 6 confessions don't just appear. Someone gave them the words. Someone who knew the scene. Someone you trusted. Someone with a badge. Fields froze. She stayed late that night. Sat alone in the conference room, staring at the board, 6 suspects, Lena's apartment, the crime scene photos. And then her eyes stopped. On a face she hadn't questioned. Detective Ray Buckley. Senior investigator. Age 45. 10-year colleague. First officer on the scene. The man who catalogued the original evidence. Reviewed all 6 confessions. Dependable. Dry humor. Trusted. But he had access. He had opportunity. And now, he had motive. Why would a respected detective create 6 false confessions? Unless, the chaos was the point. When you stare at 6 false confessions long enough, patterns emerge. Not just in what people say, but in what they shouldn't know. The question wasn't just who killed Lena Rivera. It was, who gave 6 people enough truth to make them look guilty? Fields narrowed her focus. She revisited interview tapes. Not just the confessions, but who took them. Who transcribed them. Who had access to sealed details. And then she saw it. Detective Ray Buckley had sat in on 5 of the 6 interviews. All but Tommy's. He hadn't led them, just quietly observed. No questions. No comments. But his presence was consistent. So was his signature, on nearly every piece of moved evidence. Still, accusation without proof is nothing. Fields needed something hard. Then came the voicemail. It was buried in Lena's second phone, her burner line used for private leads. Recovered weeks after the murder, tech forensics had to bypass encryption. It was almost forgotten, until a tech flagged a deleted voicemail from a blocked number, timestamped March 1st, 2 days before her death. It was short. "You think you're safe? You're not. Walk away. Or you'll be gone before your story ever breaks." The voice was distorted. Masked with reverb. But part of it, just one syllable, cut through. A cough. Then the word "breaks." Fields played it over, and over. She had heard that voice before. She brought the audio to a forensic linguist. They ran cadence analysis, matching vocal tics, speech rhythm, breath intervals. Match probability. 87%. Detective Ray Buckley. Still not a conviction. But enough for Fields to call the DA and request quiet surveillance. They didn't tell the task force. Not even the chief. Then Fields interviewed Tommy Reed again, privately. He broke. Said someone had reached out on Reddit. A profile called cold_truth_ca had DM'd him after he posted about guilt from a bad trip. The message? Maybe what you saw wasn't a dream. Look up Lena Rivera. She needs justice. It included photos. Apartment layout. Emotional language. And when Fields traced the image metadata, it had been stripped. But the angle matched only one source. The crime scene body cam. Available to only 4 officers. Ray Buckley was one of them. Still, the biggest break came from Lena herself. Fields dug through Lena's draft files, hundreds of unfinished articles. Most were trash. Half-written paragraphs. False leads. But one folder, named Blue Glass, was encrypted. After a warrant and a full decryption scan, they found what Lena had been working on before she died. It was bigger than Fields expected. An exposé on police corruption. Specifically, officers manipulating witnesses to tank investigations, and then salvaging those same cases to win accolades. The key source: an unnamed detective with access to evidence rooms, who fed false tips to vulnerable people, then arrested them for low-level plea deals. The working title of Lena's story: False Confession Factory. Her last meeting, according to her calendar, was with someone listed only as RB. Fields now saw the whole setup. Ray Buckley had been running coached confession schemes for years. Targeting unstable or desperate individuals, feeding them just enough truth to turn their guilt into a headline. It made him look like a genius closer. An investigator who solved the impossible. He'd done it in minor cases, break-ins, assaults, small-town murders. But Lena? She was about to expose him. So he shut her up. Then did what he always did. Flooded the truth with noise. 6 confessions. 6 distractions. Enough smoke to obscure the flame. But this time, it didn't work. May 5, 2022. Fields requested a sealed arrest warrant. She confronted Buckley that evening, off-duty, at his home. His reaction? Dead silence. Then, finally. You should have let it lie. You'll just end up like her. They arrested him without resistance. In his basement were printed confession scripts. Floor plans of Lena's apartment. A burner phone used to contact Tommy and Dev. A hard drive titled Backups with all 6 confession recordings, before the suspects ever made them. He'd recorded practice runs. Rehearsals. Some had his voice prompting them. Now say she let you in. Describe the blouse. Say you felt remorse. The coldest one. With Eric. Buckley feeding him each line. Coaching him to cry. To sound unsure. Even telling him to mess up the sequence so it sounds more real. The trial made national headlines. The detective who created confessions. Truth in Chaos, the Lena Rivera murder. Eric, Marianne, Javier, Dev, Sandra, and Tommy, all released, charges dropped. All victims of manipulation. None of them killed Lena. Ray Buckley did. In a cold, calculated act. Then buried beneath a mountain of noise. He was convicted of first-degree murder, evidence tampering, witness coercion, and obstruction of justice. Sentenced to life without parole. Ray Buckley went down quietly. No appeals. No statements to the press. Just one line to his attorney. It was never personal. She just walked into the wrong story. But for those left in the wake, nothing was quiet. Eric Rudd, the dishwasher, vanished from public view. Last seen leaving a halfway house in Fresno. Some say he relapsed. Others say he moved east and changed his name. Marianne Lowell checked herself into a mental health facility. The confessions had cracked something open, real trauma. Real pain. But not real guilt. Javier Soto sued the department and settled quietly. He used the money to open a music shop in San Diego. Dev Patel returned to rideshare work. Never spoke publicly again. Sandra Vega was last reported working in a motel in Tucson under an alias. Tommy Reed began volunteering at addiction clinics. His guilt, though misplaced, pushed him to sobriety. Each of them became cautionary tales, evidence of how fragile truth becomes when those in power weaponize it. Detective Naomi Fields was offered promotion. She turned it down. Instead, she took a leave of absence, quietly moved to Mendocino, and began teaching criminology at a small college, part-time. She gave one interview. NPR. When asked how she cracked the case, she said, "You don't chase the loudest voices. You chase the silences. What people don't say is usually where the truth lives." And Lena? Her story finally ran. Published posthumously in the Pacific Ledger, her exposé, False Confession Factory, became a national conversation. It detailed years of misconduct across multiple counties, hinting at other officers, not just Buckley, who blurred the line between pressure and fabrication. She was awarded a Pulitzer Prize posthumously. Her sister, Emily Rivera, accepted it, saying, "Lena always said stories don't solve everything. But they shine a light. And when you shine it long enough, people can't look away." Lena Rivera was right. The story she died for exposed the rot. And in doing so, she gave voice to 6 people who'd almost been erased. She proved that the truth doesn't always come from a confession. Sometimes, it comes from a whisper, a deleted voicemail, a burned-out journalist, or the silence left behind. And that may be the most terrifying part of all. The truth was never missing. It was just buried under 6 lies. If this story stayed with you, don't let it fade into just another headline. Share it. Talk about it. Rewatch it if you have to. Because for every Lena Rivera who gives her life chasing the truth, there's a system quietly hoping you stop asking questions. This wasn't just one rogue detective. It was a machine built on silence, shortcuts, and shattered lives. 6 innocent people almost disappeared into a story that wasn't theirs, because someone counted on the world being too distracted to care. But you listened. You made it to the end. And that means something. So stay curious. Stay skeptical. Don't take "case closed" as the end of the story. And above all, stay loud. Because the truth doesn't hide in darkness. It drowns in noise. And it takes all of us to cut through it.